Well, George, despite none of the opening clips wanting to work for me, we are now live.
Oh, no worries. Good evening, everyone, on this Monday evening. We are back with our review of... I can't even say their name. The review of the Sunday game. And we'll look forward to the Champions League game and the Leicester game at the weekend. Just want to introduce you to my lovely guests. I'll go to you first. He needs to really be careful where he puts his hands near a goal celebration. Andrew, how are you doing?
Well, I'm glad you called me lovely. That's nice. After absolutely, he stamped on me. I mean, it's a red card offence, isn't it? George's opening goal, Frida scores. George throws his phone on the floor. I go to pick it up. George stamps on my fingers. But we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to quibble about it. I'm not bitter. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, kicking the ball away is a red card offence. So, yeah, so that would have been a red card offence. I'm not bitter at all. So, Chantal, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Bit annoyed that I got stuck in more traffic yesterday to get to the game, but happy to be back down my ends.
That's good. Paul, saw you yesterday. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good. Thank you for having me back again.
Yeah. Jack, how are you doing? I know you was probably nearly as angry as I was yesterday. So how are you?
I was angry yesterday. I was angry against Hacken. I've had an angry week this week, but I'm armed with pages of notes on Arsenal women and what I think's gone wrong. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Mel, how was your weekend? Just then, because you weren't there, that's why we didn't win. So obviously we all know that.
That's a lot of pressure to put on one girl's shoulder. My weekend was pretty uneventful. Like I was saying before we came on, every team I wanted to win this weekend all came away with one singular point. But it is what it is. And there's nothing we can do about it now. Also, Max is now also here.
Oh,
he made a last-minute appearance in true Max style.
Hey, Max, how are you doing? As you can probably hear my voice, I'm not in the greatest of moods, but yeah, I think that's understandable.
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, first of all. And yeah, still feeling a bit drained after the back-to-back games against City yesterday. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get into all of that.
Yeah, cool. Good to have you. Obviously, thank you for everyone who's going to be watching. So I haven't forgot anyone, have I, Mel?
No, you haven't. So I was literally about to take the biggest mouthful of this as you asked that. So
What about Paul? What about Paul?
No,
I said Paul.
Was I asleep?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what's going on with me?
I'm
having flashbacks.
Trying to undermine the gaffer already. All right.
Oh, sorry, boss.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the team from Manchester game. So obviously I'll start with you, Chantal. We saw the lineup before the game. There was a lot of people that was a bit concerned with the team that we started with, like obviously with no Williamson, that we soon found out that was concussion. So what was your thoughts on the lineup when you see it?
Yeah, kind of a couple of names I expected to be there. And then obviously with the no Williamson, that was quite a shock. But then I think especially from the previous game of seeing how Lotta and Codina were like getting used to that relationship defending again, it put me a slight on edge, but they did prove me wrong. And then having Stina starting instead of Russo, that was a little bit of a shock. But obviously we don't know if something happened behind the scenes of why she got played more. Was she more like match fit, or did Russo like take a knock in training like some of the other players have?
Yeah. Max, I'll come to you. Obviously, we saw Beth Mead and Russo on the bench. Was you surprised they both were on the bench, or did you think one would start over the other one?
Well, I think first of all, if we look at Russo being benched in favour of, so that Stina can start, I did, before the game, I was sort of wondering what Jonas might do with regard to the centre forward, given that obviously for a lot of the season we're going to be up against teams who defend quite deep. But Man City aren't one of those teams, and they like to kind of come onto you and press, and then they leave a lot of space. And I think in that sense, I think it was obvious that part of the game plan was to release Steeler in behind into the space that City were leaving. So I think that was a selection that, like, if you'd asked me to predict the team before the game, I probably would have said Russo to start. But as soon as you saw the team sheet, you could see sort of what Jonas was trying to do there. I was a little bit surprised that Beth wasn't included from the start. I wonder if that's just off the back of quite a poor performance from her in particular against Hacken. So yeah, surprised to a degree with some of with those changes, but at the same time, I think you can kind of understand why both of them were made for their own sort of reasons.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that. Paul, come to you. What about the lineup as well? Was it kind of the lineup that you thought, or would you have started Beth and Russo?
I was expecting Russo to start, but purely on sort of historical last season, Russo seemed to be getting the nod in most games. But like's just been said, though, when you see the lineup, you could see what tactics he was going for, with City's back line playing differently to some of the other teams. But some of it's got to be one eye on Thursday's game, which I'm sure we'll come on to later. So, yeah, we have got a massive squad this season of pretty much fully fit players, which this time last season would have been a dream to have. So if we're going to be competing in numerous competitions, we've got to have some sort of rotation. So I think possibly Beth and Russo to start on Thursday, and then like Stina come off the bench. So I think it's purely the rotation, keep the players fresh for the different games.
Yeah, no, I get that. When they said about the lineup, I thought, could it be a rotation? Because like I was trying to say to people yesterday before they was like, woo, woo, woo. That's like, yesterday's game wasn't a season defining. If we lost, I don't think it's season defining. Whereas Thursday could be. Andrew, I know obviously we were sitting next to each other. When you saw the lineup, what was your thoughts? Obviously, was it self-explainable why you went for that lineup?
I think Max makes a good point, and it makes sense. Stina's game is like playing on the back line, and if they give her space behind, that's what she's going to do. So that makes a lot of sense. Laura Patterson in the comments mentions that Russo might have been ill during the week as well. So that kind of there's a 2-pointer there. I mean, the other one, I suppose, Caitlin. I guess it's Caitlin starting ahead of Beth. I guess one of the things you could say was, what's Caitlin done wrong? Scoring. She's had some. She's had some great. Sounds a really good start to the season. So those are the three there. That was what my thoughts were initially.
Yeah, and I will come back to you about a specific player during the game, Andrew. So don't. Jack, I know that you're the ambassador for the Beth Mead fan club. What was you happy that she was starting, or would you not starting? Sorry, or would you have started Beth in that game and then play Caitlin on Thursday?
I was surprised. I thought that the Man City game was more suited to Beth. I thought against Hacken, she showed actually was one of our best attacking players on the pitch. And so I was surprised. We set up a team not to lose. I think we set up a team that was there to combat a lot of Man City's strengths rather than putting out our own stuff. But yeah, I didn't have an issue with the starting lineup.
Okay. Yeah. Mel, so was you thinking Stina was going to start ahead of Russo, or would you have liked to have seen Stina and Russo? Because I know sometimes you said about changing the formation.
I think, regardless of who started, like Max said, like it was very obvious what our game plan was. I think trying to get Stina and Russo in the lineup at the same time is proving to be very, very difficult, especially with sort of like the caliber of wide players that A, we've taken in, and B, sort of the level that our current players have stepped up to. I think Beth Mead being on the bench, to me, sort of showed that, in my eyes, I don't think she links up with Emily Fox quite as well as Caitlin Ford does. Caitlin Ford and Emily Fox seem to click and be on the same sort of wavelength when it comes to overlapping and underlapping runs. So, it wasn't. Like, regardless of who started up front, I wasn't going to be overly surprised. It's one of those ones where you could slot either of them into the lineup and it'll make sense in one way or another.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that. So obviously then the game got underway. Jack, I'll talk to you about Frida. Like, once again, scores another big goal, doesn't she? Like, I wasn't actually surprised that she got played again instead of Rosa, because what I was saying before the game was, I just think Frida Martin, she likes the big game.
Yeah, she's a big game player. I'm a real fan of Frida. I think she's absolutely quality. I wasn't surprised she scored either. I was surprised she played. I was surprised she started. But no, I think a couple of years ago we saw just what a top player she is. And I think there's very few players in the game that can score in big moments against big teams as consistently as she does. And it just shows her quality. She can also play anywhere along that front three and drop deeper into midfield. And I think definitely at times against Man City, she was absolutely vital in linking what was at times, I didn't think, our strongest midfield performance. But yeah, no, she was absolutely outstanding for majority of the game. And it wasn't just her goal.
Yeah. Just going on what Jack just said, Max, about it wasn't our strongest midfield format. How do you think we'd like in the first half? Did you think the midfield started? Because I thought it was a bit hit and miss.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I think basically when you look at sort of Arsenal's possession numbers across the season against basically any team other than City, apart from maybe Chelsea to a degree, even Chelsea, we tend to dominate the ball. But these games against City seem to take more of a pattern where we just accept that we're going to have slightly less possession. I think it was 42% yesterday. And to be honest with you, I was really intrigued by how Kyra Guinea-Cross would play, because obviously she started every competitive game this season, and there's like very much this opening in the team for her because of Palova's ACL injury. Yeah. And I thought there were kind of good things and bad things about her performance. Probably last season, what was levelled at her was like her lack of defensive awareness, and I think that was something that personally, just like especially in the first half where City sort of were attacking towards the north bank, I thought like she got well stuck in, won a few tackles, but at the same time, there were moments where City created chances. I think Tim Stillman mentioned on the Arscast today, like they were very effective off winning second balls, and that's where you'd want your midfield double pivot to sort of do a bit more. So yeah, I thought as Guinea-Cross in particular had a pretty good game on the whole. Kim Little, I think you always know what you're going to get with Kim, and there's a degree of reliability. I think I was a little bit surprised that she completed 90 minutes, just because I thought there were points in the game where she was flagging a little bit, but I suppose I know Jonas obviously reads a lot into like leadership, and probably wanting to keep a player like that on the pitch was wise. But on the whole, I think there were good things and bad things to take from the way the midfield, especially the way the midfield pivot operated in this game.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that. big shout out to Tim as well for helping support the channel as well. I actually saw him in McDonald's after the men's game. I was waiting to get a quarter pounder, and Tim was behind me when I was with Dorian. So not every day you see Tim Stillman in Holloway Road McDonald's. But there you go. I'll come to you, Paul. So a bit like what Max was saying about Kim Little, we know what we're getting with her. Could you have seen Kim coming off a little bit earlier for Leah Volti or something like that?
So it's always difficult with a player like Kim. She's our leader on the pitch. She did seem to be tiring a little bit towards the end, but in some of these big games, a 90% Kim Little is better than 100% of some of the other players.
Yeah.
So I could see maybe if, and no disrespect to any other team, but if this was Leicester this coming week, then maybe she'd get a rest against that. But if you're playing the likes of City or Chelsea or one of our title contenders, you want a player like Kim on the pitch for as long as possible.
Yeah, I agree. And then obviously Chantel, the person we predicted scored the equaliser. Like, I'm sorry, it's probably the luckiest and biggest deflection that it could have happened. How do you like? Obviously, one, what did you think about the goal? And two, did you think like just after that our heads dropped a little bit?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it was very hard for, like, I know there is quite an anti-Sinsberger crowd at the moment with having 2 goals being conceded in the game. But the first goal was very unlucky for her because she's already in momentum of going one way. And then to even be able to stop herself to not like see it going the other way, that's quite a hard thing once you're already setting into dive one way. So that deflection just obviously just caught it in the right way to go into the back of the net. And I think she was quite unlucky to have that, because I think if that deflection wasn't there, I'll stand behind her and say that she would have had that saved. So that could have definitely been a like game changer for the rest of the game. And you could see once we conceded that goal, there was a bit of a shift in the other players and how the rest of that second half went. And for the first 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes of the second half, that you could just see that we kind of lost that fire and we weren't going to them second balls. City was pressing to get them second balls and the deflections and rebounds, which I think we kind of stood and took a step back for a little bit. But then obviously once we had the subs, they did kind of bring back that fire and brought the game back round to our side.
Yeah. I'll come to you, Mel, because you're probably more of an expert in this field than I am. So, while I was looking at it, was with the equaliser, shouldn't the defence not be letting City have that much space?
It's a tough one because it depends on how they've been told to set up. Sometimes you'll find that one centre-back's told to stick right on the back of one striker and the other one's told to sort of sit deeper and sweep in behind and sort of be a cover-up, really. But it just fully depends on what they've been told to do. Personally, I'm always told that one of us sticks and the other one's just there to sort of slide in if required and sweep up any balls that peep through. But yeah, it's a tough one. I think over 90 minutes defensively, we weren't great. There's that good old American saying of defense wins championships, and I think, like everybody said, you have to win those second balls, those third balls that at the end of the day they can really change a game. All it takes is for one person to stand off a second ball or to let a ball bounce, and suddenly the defence are taken out of the game completely, and it's a free shot on goal for the strikers.
Yeah. Then we'll move on because I know Andrew is dying to talk about it. So we'll talk to the player that watches the podcast the most, Katie McCabe, because she got absolutely ripped a new one by me on Wednesday. And then she had quite a good game, didn't she, Andrew?
Quite a good game. Quite a good game. Yeah, she was. Yeah, that was a battling performance. That was a proper Katie McCabe performance. Just throwing a body on the line, a couple of blocks, getting in the tackles. I mean, yeah, I thought she was superb. That's the Katie we know. I'd appreciate where you were coming from, George. She hadn't had the most explosive start to the season, but she was up for that. Interestingly, fascinatingly, with six yellow cards, and none of them went to Katie. I don't believe even Jonas got one. Yeah, I thought I think certainly defensively, I'm going forward as well, but. She was a proper defensive performance, but a couple of good through balls as well. So, yeah, she's out of George's doghouse, right?
Yeah, for now. That as mentioned, there's a new segment. That is the new segment, George's doghouse. So there's a big name in the doghouse this week. A big name.
Oh.
So, Mel, is there any comments before we move on to the
We've had a few.
you don't need to read them all, it's fine, if there's loads.
There's not that many, to be fair.
Mainly from Catherine.
Yeah, Catherine loves a comment. Oh my god, I'm clicking on random things now. It's all going wrong.
Need to get you on, Catherine.
I know. I spend more time reading Catherine's comments than I do anything else. I feel like she needs to come on here and say them herself. She said that she's almost wondering if Sunday's lineup in part was for Thursday's game as well, trying to keep some players as much to 100% fitness as possible. She said the City looked all attack on Sunday, even shows that they benched Keaton. And she's still not so patiently waiting for Van Domselaar to play. And she has then slated Zinsberger at the end of that comment, saying, watching Jess Park's goal and the replay made me think, why we played Zinsberger. She assumed it was going wide, but you have to cover it. You can't assuming leads to goals. She's also said that she can't come on because it's the middle of her workday. She's in Michigan, so it's only 2:40 in the afternoon. So that's good enough. We respect that.
Well, but we can always try and pre-record something, Catherine, and then get you on. So yeah, it'd be good to get you on. Yeah, it was quite funny because I couldn't get to grips with the Man City keeper's name.
Of course.
Don't,
George. Don't even try it. Family PG 15.
Yeah. So yeah, it just was not happening for me. So we'll go on to that Jess Park goal, Max. Do you think? Because I won't lie, I thought it was just an absolute brilliant goal at the first. I didn't really blame Manu for that.
Yeah, no, for me, I think it's a brilliant strike. Yeah, no, absolutely no blame attached to Manu on either goal. And yeah, I think that's with a shot like that when it's off the underside of the bar. I mean, obviously with the first goal, the deflection is really unlucky. I thought Manu actually had a really strong game. Otherwise, made a number of good saves, and not just keeping the ball out, but like pushing the ball away from danger. There's one late on where like sort of straight down her throat, but she does well to hold on to it. Where like if she spills it, City could potentially score. So I think on the whole, Manu had a strong game, and I think it would be very harsh to blame her on either goal.
Yeah. Jack, I'll come to you. Obviously, Catherine mentioned about Arsenal's number 14, and it's not a striker before you know. Daphne Van Donslaert. Do you think she's been brought in to push Manu and eventually take over that number one, or do you think it's like just having two good goalkeepers that can rotate?
It's hard to say. Yeah, I like Daphne Van Domselaer. I think she's a really good goalkeeper. I saw her for the first time when the Netherlands went out to France in the Euros, and she was absolutely outstanding that day. And she's a really good goalkeeper. But I cannot believe the amount of stuff I've seen against Manu Zinsberger over the past couple of months. She's easily one of the top 3 goalkeepers in the league. And I think I cannot believe that I've seen stuff for either goal, a massive deflection that I don't think any goalkeeper in any league will stop or even get close to. And I've watched this volley a fair few times. I think you can blame the midfield for not closing. I think she's given too much space. But I mean, that's not just gone in on the underside of the crossbar. That's gone top corner and in on the crossbar. I think Manu's made some really big saves this year. She did in the Hacken game as well. And she's done it against Man City. And I think until she gives a reason to be kicked out of the team, she's the first choice goalkeeper. And I would play Van Domsela in the Cups if at the end of the season Jonas wants to go a different way, which would be strange considering Manu got the new contract. Then I think fair enough. But I think for now, until something goes drastically wrong, I think we keep playing someone who cares so deeply about Arsenal as well. You can never criticise Manu for any of the passion or anything like that. She's in good form in the goalkeeper actual department. Her handling is excellent. Her dealing with corners as well. She's one of the few goalkeepers in women's football you regularly see go and catch stuff. And I think we may find this be a case of fans don't realise how lucky we actually are to have her in goal until she's gone.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to sit here and say I was the biggest fan, but you have to be honest and say, I was going to say it as you see it, but yeah, we won't go there. But I wouldn't blame Manu for either of those goals, per se. I think there's more blame on the defence, Paul, to be fair, because they shouldn't be, the amount of space that Man City were getting, even in the other chances that they got. Would you agree with that, with the defence, or are you blaming Manu?
No, I think Manu had a great game. I think it's almost been since the turn of the year. The first half of last season, she was a little bit. She had a couple of dodgy games, but then this year, the whole year, she seemed to be, as it was sort of picked up her game. And yesterday, she made 3 or 4 outstanding saves that I don't think a lot of goalkeepers would have pulled off that many against top opposition. But yeah, there was a couple of little sort of gaps in the defence, and they could have been closing players down a little bit quicker. So your goalkeepers, a lot of it is they're only as good as the defence in front of them. They are the last. Well, they're the goalkeeper. They're the last line of defence. So if the ball's getting to them that regularly, then there's in front of them. I'd say maybe if Leah had been in there with her experience and her leadership at the back, it could have been a little bit different. But then you have got 2 top-class defenders there anyway. Kadina and Lottie have played quite a lot together last season, so they should know how each other plays by now. But yeah, there did seem to be a few gaps, a few sort of hesitations, and whether it's sort of beginning of the season, hopefully that'll sort of tighten up in the next couple of games. Yeah.
And then obviously we got the equaliser, Chantel with Beth. Probably didn't go down well in that household, did it? Just be honest. But that's a more PG answer, Andrew, than I said at the game. So yeah, Chantel, obviously, like you said earlier, the subs changed the game, didn't they? And obviously Beth coming on and grabbing the equaliser.
I know for sure. I think Rosa was unlucky with the shot because obviously it nipped the not the crossbar, the post, and obviously bounced out. And like Mead does what she does, she gets herself in the right positions where the ball is going to end up for her just to get it into the net, which I think it just shows how much knowledge she has of the game and her positioning. When she came on, she just kind of brought this fire. She was like pressing the players, wanting to keep the ball in City's half, not really letting them break out. And I just think having that rest of not starting, it kind of gave her that time to rest and then come out, bit of a fire to drive and make a game difference.
Yeah, I agree. Mel, so what my issue was with the two was when it was 2-2 is that just generally was the lack of energy throughout the whole game. Do you think the energy could have been better, or do you think we could have pushed more to try and get that winner?
I'll be honest, I'd love to say fortunate. I'm probably going to say fortunate because if I watched the full 90 minutes, I probably would have been ripping my eyes and my hair out. But in my team, we have a very strict no phone in the changing rooms an hour before kickoff policy. So I actually missed the whole second half. But I think coming off of midweek performance, we looked quite slow and sloppy for the full 90. So I don't know if that sort of transpired over to the weekend. We haven't quite shaken that off yet. Hoping we have now going into Thursday, with Thursday obviously being a must-win game. But yeah, I don't know. It's start of the season. People moan when we have a preseason. People moan when we don't have a preseason. I don't know. It just comes down to attitude at the end of the day. I don't know if first game at the Emirates, ex-player coming back type thing that rattled a few of the starting 11. But we'll never know. We just have to hope that coming into these upcoming games that we've shaken off that sloppiness that we all know that we're better than. And actually go into these games and look like we want to win them rather than looking like we're happy to settle for a draw like how it's appeared in the last two games that we played.
Yeah, thank you. So I will build this up now. So this is where George's doghouse comes into being. So Andrew will probably know what's coming already because he probably seen me look up to the sky and probably heard me swear. So it was 2-2. And a certain striker called Leslie Russo missed an absolute sitter. Right, I'm not even joking. Andrew, I'll come to you because you was with me. It was just criminal, wasn't it? That you have to put those chances away.
And uncharacteristic up until recently. But yeah, I've never known her being as a form player, but yeah, I mean, it was almost a pass back, wasn't it? I think the keeper was a bit shocked at how, the ball just rolled to her, and it was almost like she had too much time to think about it. I can't. I'm still sort of processing it now. You can probably tell by, but yeah, it was it was the worst finish I've ever seen. I mean, if that's how you describe it, because it obviously wasn't a finisher. Because and from Leslie Russo, that it was an absolute shocker. And I guess that just compounds, I think, what our current big issue is finishing. Look at we're creating so many chances this year. And yet our finishing, and Stina's not had, but I think we've come to grow. We've grown that, Stina will create 5 chances for herself, but only convert one of them. But yeah, it was possibly the worst shot I've ever seen in such a situation. And I guess from a striker, Leslie, when she, I guess I've known her as such a pure striker of the ball. I thought it was just nailed on. I've never been so surprised to see, and it wasn't even a miss. It just, it was a pass back, and I guess that's where the door was opened into Georgie's doghouse for Leslie Russo.
So yeah, the first official inductee. Before we finish on the Man City match, I'll come to you. I was talking to Tim yesterday, and he was saying the biggest issue he had was the waste chances and the gilt-edged chances. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look at, I know like XG isn't for everyone, but if you look at it, I think Arsenal had, it was like 2.4 to Arsenal. It's 1 point something for City, but basically on the underlying numbers, Arsenal were the better team. And I mean, you look at just 3 one-on-ones across the game. Okay, the first one with Stina, where she rounds the goalkeeper, she doesn't have much to aim for, so I think she's a bit unlucky with that. The second one-on-one that West Stina's denied, I think the City keeper, as much as I think she looked quite dodgy across a lot of the game, I think that's a really good save where she makes herself quite big. But yeah, I mean, as Andrew mentions, the Russo miss is the one that sort of sticks out in the mind, where it's just so tame, and I think her kind of lack of pace was really exposed because Arsenal obviously playing a style that worked when Stina was on the pitch, but then transferring that to Russo, she's running behind, and I mean, she always gets caught up by Alana Kennedy, and then you see Kasparov coming across the cover, and she has to take the shot. She actually takes a shot outside the box or on the edge of the box because she has to take it so early because she doesn't have the pace to sort of bring the ball forward any further, and also doesn't really look up to see Kafaji wide open either. So yeah, I think the finishing was a real concern. I think obviously there were times last season where a lot of people talked about chance creation. I don't think that was an issue at all yesterday, and I think actually Arsenal probably played better in this game against City than they did in either of the 2 wins last season, which I think were both very narrow games. It could have gone either way. So yeah, it does feel like a bit of an opportunity missed because I think, up until the sort of final action, Arsenal were doing everything well yesterday. But yeah, frustrating day in front of goal.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank you for that. Mel, is there any comments?
We have not had any comments since Catherine's last little influx that we spoke about last time. So she's either gone back to work or she's thinking of many more thought-invoking comments that she can put in this.
Yeah, that's good. Obviously, also thank you to everyone who done their prediction. My prediction was on until Arsenal's defence decided to ruin it. But yeah, we have a 3-way tie at the top.
I actually have something to say about your prediction, sir, because on the podcast you said 1-0 and Stina was going to score first. Then the group chat you said 2-1.
Yeah, I changed it.
Well, I'm taking your first one. So if it finished 2-1, you weren't getting any points off me.
It wouldn't matter anyway.
You can forget about George's doghouse. You've got Mel's doghouse that George is in at the moment.
Oh my gosh.
She's like a pussy cat, it's fine. I'll just buy her a Jaeger bomb, it'll be alright. So yeah, we'll move on to the Champions League game. Obviously, big game on Thursday, Jack. You're quite confident, aren't you?
I was until we played the first leg. I mean, I think it was a good job I wasn't on the watch along that day because I would have probably never been allowed back on the show again. I was fuming. We should win. We should win. It's a home. I thought Hacken played actually quite poorly at home. I don't think I had them again this weekend for work, and they were really slow, really lackluster, and conceded sloppy goals as well. I want to see bravery that from Arsenal, and I think in both the Man City game and the Hacken game, we've seen the lack of it. I don't think it's the players. I think it's coming from the coaches. I think there's a defence first, a safety first approach, and I think if we do that against them, it will get to 60 minutes. It will be 0-0, 1-0, and we'll be starting to get stressed and panicky. I think we've got to take the handbrake off, and I think we've got to really go for it. I want to see players making the quick decisions, but also making their decisions. And this will shock a fair few people, but I want Beth Mead playing as close to that striker as possible. I don't want to see it out on wide. I don't want to see her cut adrift on her own. I want to see her in and around that box where I do think she is a top-class player, even if that means playing 2 up front and changing it for that game. Because I think from the amount of missed chances we've seen, there's only probably 2 people who can put the ball in the back of the net at the moment, and Beth Mead is one of them.
Yeah. Andrew, I'll come to you. Like a bit echoing what Jack said. Would you change the formation, and then, like, who would you would you change much from Sunday?
No, I like what Jack says there. Actually, I think Beth. I mean, I think we can stay with the formation, but yeah, I think Beth is playing tighter to the goal makes sense. She's there's a couple of players, and I think they're known as fuck it players, Kafaji and Beth. They'll just go for it, and I think I like what Jack's saying about not so don't worry so much about the structure. We can leave the centre backs back there. They're not going to get troubled that much, and it's about with Beth pinching in. You've obviously got Emily or Laura coming down the outside, but I would perhaps actually, horses for courses, So it was a Stina, Frida, Caitlin day on against City, but I think for Hacken it's Leslie, Rosa, and Beth. Jack, who's the other one? You said Beth's the only one who can score. Is the other one? Is it Fordy?
I was gonna. To be fair, Ford is a fair shout. I was actually going to say Marnham because I think she has the knack of it in the Champions League, and obviously she looked very composed in front of goal at the weekend.
Yeah. Remember, we've got Shake It Caldente as well. So, I don't think we're not seeing the best of her yet. But Mel, if you obviously it's the same sort of question, what would your front three be plus the number 10? Would you keep it as it is now, or would you change it up?
I don't know. I feel like chopping and changing it too often can sort of lead to a bit of unrest and confusion in the squad. But I also feel that this early in the season, you can sort of get away with it because we've not really found our footing yet. I'd want to see Beth Mead in the squad, but also at the same time, I feel with the way that Fox and Ford are linking up, I wouldn't really want to break that up. Like, Caldente's done nothing wrong in my eyes at all that could see her being pulled from the starting lineup going into Thursday. But yeah, that fight for the right hand side seems to be up there at the minute. And I don't even think that Jonas knows who he wants to be playing there consistently. Mm-hmm. Realistically, with how many minutes Caitlin played on Sunday, I would be inclined to see Beth start out on the right. So much as we keep it the same, obviously just take out Caitlin and put Beth in instead.
Paul, same question for you. Are you echoing what Mel's saying, or would you change it up a little bit more?
I think stick pretty much as we are, but not only bring Beth in for Caitlin, but I think Beth and Laura's link-up play is better than Emily and Beth's link-up play. So if you're going to bring Beth in on that right-hand side, maybe, given that Emily's played almost every minute so far this season in the games, maybe it's time to give Laura a try on the right as well. Just give Emily a break for it. So I think their link-up play is good. I think Emily and Caitlin have got together really well. So, yeah, just change the right-hand side maybe.
Mel, you didn't give him a dirty look there, did you?
No.
As soon as he said about Emily, I thought, oh, no. Oh.
I mean, I get the point, but at the same time, I also feel that Emily Fox is one of those players that as many minutes as you can put into her, you'll get the same amount and more in return. She seems to be one of those players that no matter how much she was getting a beast in the NWSL and getting run into the ground with the US Women's National Team and all the random tournaments and friendlies and games that they seem to play in and retirement tours that they go on for certain players, that she's never really seemed like slowing down, and she's obviously still quite, in my eyes, she's still quite new to a professional career. Obviously only being professional for 3, maybe 4 years now. So I personally wouldn't take Emily Fox out, and that's not just coming from my Emily Fox agenda. It is that I think that she's, like I say, she's a player that you could put 180 minutes into her in a week, and the next week she'd be willing to go out. And if you gave her the chance to play 360, she'd take your hand off for the opportunity. So
I do like with this show and this podcast that unintentionally we put a really out there comment on every show every week. I'll come to you, Chantel, unless you've got a really out there comment, like I don't know, like Freya Godfrey to captain on Wales or something. But
how did you know?
yeah, fair.
No, yeah, I think definitely keep Fox because, like, in the City game, you could see the way she drives up the wing with that ball and the overlapping run she makes with whoever the winger is. It was working against the City team, and we were getting crosses in, and vice versa with Caldente. Like, most of our successful attacks were from the wings, which I think starting off 1-0 down already, I think we need to come out fighting. And like Jack said, maybe have Mead sit a little bit higher next to that striker, because you do have Fox who can drive and bring it up more higher, so she doesn't sit as far back as what she normally would in a game. But I think we just can't be repeating what we were like in the Hacken game away, and we just need to come out with a bit more fight and fire in us and not make the sloppy mistakes and passes that we were gifting them, and just, for God's sake, be more clinical.
Yeah, I don't think I can take with any more stress from Arsenal Football Club this week. Max, I'll come to you. Obviously, the striker position, would you go Russo on Thursday, or would you stay with Stina, or would you play both of them?
Yeah, so I think this is like one of the big sort of head scratchers for Jonas going into this game. And a lot of it kind of will be, I think, could be dictated by how Hacken play. So if we assume, I know like their usual style is they're a bit more proactive, but if we assume that they're going to kind of sit deep and try and protect their lead, that probably lends itself more to playing Russo, despite the fact that obviously she was quite poor yesterday. So like, I reckon it will be Russo and for that link play she offers. But then, yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, he could go ahead and play both. I mean, I forgot to mention that I thought Frida Mornan was outstanding for the first sort of 60 minutes or so against City, but that's with Steiner on the pitch when those two work really well together. Whereas we've not really seen that so much when it's been Russo and Frida. So I wouldn't be averse to starting the pair of them, as you suggest. But yeah, I think what's really important with Arsenal is just, as has been mentioned, just being clinical in front of goal. We created enough chances in the first leg to at least get a draw. I think Hacken showed a willingness to play out from the back, which kind of got them into trouble a few times. And if we can kind of get our press sort of really well coordinated, there's joy to be had there. So yeah, I think to be honest, whoever plays, we just need to stick the ball in the net. As simple as that sounds.
Yeah. Could you, again, Max, could you see, it would be a change of formation, but could you see him playing the three in the midfield and then sort of playing, say, Caitlin on the right, but then, say, maybe Beth Mead, like just behind, say, Russo? So it's like they're playing two up front, but more like a false sort of nine.
So would that be with Mead as the false nine?
Yeah.
I kind of doubt it while like Russo and Dina are both available, to be honest. But I think like how we use Mead in this game, like others have suggested on this pod, I think like maybe just positioning her quite narrow, so that she's getting in the box and getting those chances as she did when she came on Sunday. I think that's something we might look to do.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So we'll go around quickly and get your predictions. I'll go first, so Mel don't get the ump with me and I change my answer. And
hold on, I need to find my pen.
See, come on.
Oh my god, actually, I found it. Never mind. Panic over, as you were.
But I'm going to go 2-0, and my first goal scorer is going to be. Well, because it worked last time, I'm going to go Russo to be the first goal scorer because anyone who's in the doghouse does well in the next game. Have you got that?
I've got it.
Cool. Then we'll go talking about doghouse if he carries on. Andrew.
3-0, Mariona. Although it is going to be in an extra time.
You're going to end up in this doghouse, mate. I'm telling you.
I can't help it. The spirits are talking to me. I've got to listen to them.
What spirits? What vodka?
Telling me what's going to happen. They tell me what happens. I know these things.
Is Jonas staying then?
Yeah.
Chantel?
I'm going 3-0, and I'm going Mead, then Steiner, and I'm going to chuck Little in there with a penalty.
Yeah, I'll take that. Tell me if I'm going too fast, Mel. Paul?
I'm going to go 4-0, and I think Steiner's going to get the first one.
Cool. Max?
I'm going to go 3-0 in 90 minutes and a Kim Little penalty for the first goal.
If you get that one right, you get bonus point. I like that one. Just because it's not causing me any more stress. Jack?
I'm going to go 2-0. I think we're going to miss loads and loads of chances again. And I'm having us scoring a set piece with Lotto. I think set pieces might well be our key to getting a result out of this. So yeah, set piece with Lotto. I'm going to go 2-0.
I do promise you guys we are a positive podcast.
Jack needs a hug.
He either needs a hug or he needs a drinking session with the Arsenal women fans.
I'm hoping to get down actually Thursday for my first game of the season, so it may happen sooner than.
Happy days.
George said drinks on him.
Did I? Yeah.
What it sounded like to me, yeah.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, why not? But it's fine because I don't see many people or anyone at all in the pub. So when I see you, I'll buy you a drink. That's right. Mel?
I would say it took 43 minutes for the blind joke today. And I also want to know that Andrew dropped the first F-bomb on the podcast. It wasn't me.
Did.
And I'm very proud of myself that I managed to get this far in this.
I did notice that.
I'm going to say, because it's Arsenal and they're dramatic and they love to do this to us, 2-0, but it's going to be, we're going to score and then we're going to drag it through extra time and make us all wait for it. But my first goal scorer, who am I going to go? I'm going to go Beth Mead.
Oh.
No, in fact, I'm not. I'm going to go Frida.
Hold on, how can you change your answer?
Because I don't look at you wrote down the M.
Stuart's inquiry. Oh, mate. Lucky I like you. I'll let you get away with it.
I'm honoured. But regardless of who scores first and whatever the score is, this team needs a literal fire lit under their arses going into this game on Friday. Yeah. Friday? Thursday. If they're going out on Friday, then we've already lost. But it's already going to shit if we go in on Friday. But they need either a good boot or a fire lit under their arses because to come off of losing a game where you look like you want to play for a draw, having a draw where once again you look like you want to play for a draw, to go into a game where you can't afford to draw, somebody needs to give them all a shake. Get me on a plane, I'll go down there and shake them all. Let me in. I'll grab them all by the shoulders, give them a good shake, because somebody's going to have to do it, and nobody in that backroom staff seems to want to do it just now.
I just want to say Max hit the absolute nail on the head when he said that we need to press them at the back, because we did not even try on Wednesday. They were so sloppy with the ball in possession. They were so slow. If we have a proper press, and we've seen it from us before, Like I was led to believe this was one of Jonas's key things from a team. But if we press from the back, there's goals in us. Like there are so many mistakes.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the press is important. Obviously, we know people from Arsenal do watch the podcast, so if Mel does turn up at Menlo Park on Thursday, we know what's happened. So before we end the show, we'll quickly go around and get your sort of thoughts and predictions for the oh my God, who we got?
Leicester.
Leicester, yeah. How can I forget the place of the best sausage roll? So, Chantel, I'll come to you quickly. Like, what's your thoughts on that, and what would you say your prediction would be?
I think we're going to win, and by the way they played against Liverpool, they were very narrow and congested in the middle. So obviously, with having great success with our wingers, I think that is the play to go to get some goals. I think we can't rule them out because they do like to score like last minute or towards the end of the game goals and equalise. That's what they did with Liverpool as well, and just be a bit more clinical with our set pieces because obviously we've got this new set piece coach now. Leicester conceded via a set piece corner, so I think this would be a great chance to see what our new coach in the set piece department is creating and look at some more creativity.
Yeah. What's your prediction?
I'm going to go 2-0.
Who's your first goal scorer?
Oh, I'll go Martin. Why not?
Oh, yeah,
Seems
cool.
to be whoever I pick doesn't score anyway, so I'll jinx her now.
Okay, just go Zinsberger or something. Jack?
Well, I feel like as it comes to the end, I should be really positive. So I'm going to go that Thursday night we win. And then we arrive to Leicester at the weekend. High spirits in the Champions League group stages. Tough times behind us. I'm going to have Mariana to score first. I think a goal is coming from her. I spoke to someone at Arsenal this week, and they said the issue with Caldente at the moment isn't her play, but it's that she's actually so far ahead in some of her ideas and some of the stuff she's thinking of doing that it's almost taking everyone else a moment to catch up on the same wavelength as her. So it's going to come. So I'm going to go 4-0, and I'm going to go Caldente scoring first.
Come on, Jack.
Who the hell is that? Just said that. I wasn't Jack.
She's cousin. Yeah. Paul, what about you?
I think we're going to come out of Thursday night. I think we're going to have a good win. I think we're going to get the momentum going. We've got a couple of good games coming up in the league as well. I think we'll go out against Leicester as long as we can be more decisive and more clinical in front of goal. My prediction is going to be a 4-1 win, and I can see McCabe getting the first goal.
Yeah, Andrew, are you at Leicester away?
I am not actually.
I
no.
got here waxing lyrical about Katie McCabe's first goal. Then that's fine.
Yeah. I'm going to be missing that one. But...
Yeah. What's your thoughts and prediction?
2-1. Lessie Doghouse Russo to get both the goals.
If that doesn't end up like Lessie Doghouse Russo, that's got to be a fantasy football team name, surely.
Thing is, George, as soon as you put them in the doghouse, they have a blinder. So it's you're going to go through the whole team. You're going to run out of players because I think there's more games than there is the squad. So.
Mel, are we doing time checks on how many times the guests say a blind joke?
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah. So
subconscious
Andrew,
blind joke. Didn't even
see it, did you? So Andrew's done well today, guys. He's dropped the first F-bomb and then dropped the first blind joke like about me. So fair play. He's made it through to boot camp. Max, what's your thoughts and prediction?
Well, first of all, it will be nice just to actually play a game that doesn't feel like it's of like season-defining proportions, like all these Champions League qualifiers and the opening game against City has been. So hopefully, like playing with a little bit more weight off that. Well, if we win on Thursday, a bit more weight off their shoulders is hopefully something that could be helpful for us. So yeah, I'll go for the sake of consistency. I'll go for another 3-0. So 2 3-0 wins this week. And I'll go Mariano first goal scorer as well.
Oh, excellent. And Mel.
I'm going to give you Max. I've gone for 3-0 because I'm feeling optimistic for once in my life. It doesn't happen very often, so we can start time and dating that as well.
Between you and Jack, yeah.
I'd say it's infectious, this positivity, isn't it?
I've also gone with Emily Fox as my first goal scorer because I'm adamant she's scoring this season, and I'm not going to say it every game, but like every second or third game, she's going to be my pick until she does score. Which means that if I use her as my second and third pick, it will be the one game that I don't pick when she does score, because that's just the kind of luck I have.
Cool. What am I going to go for? 4-2. Just because I think it'll go to 2-2. Lewis will say, I've had enough, I'm walking out. As soon as he walks out, we score a third and then finish it off at the end. And my first goal scorer is going to be...
Katie McCabe.
No.
Sorry. Was my microphone on? Didn't.
I'm going to go Kyra Cooney Cross. So, yeah. So that is the show, guys. So thank you to everyone who's been watching with your comments in the chat as well. Thank you for all the shares and the subscribes. Remember, hit that like button and the subscribe button. Now it's up to me to say thank you to my guest, Max. Thanks for coming on. It was really, really great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Andrew, thanks as always. Thanks for saving my phone yesterday.
Cheers, Gaffer. My fingers are still throbbing, but it's all for you, Gaffer.
Yeah. If you think that was bad, wait if we score a last-minute win against Chelsea. Anyway. And Mel's not been in that block yet as well, so it'd be good to get her back. Chantel, thank you.
Thanks for having me on again.
No problem. Paul, thank you as well. Good to see you yesterday.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Jack, always a pleasure as well. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. And hopefully it'll be good to see quite a few of you on Thursday.
Yeah.
What stand are you in?
Not sure, honestly, on top of my head, but I will get back on that one.
There's only one stand, let's be honest.
Probably the wrong one then.
So we'll see Jack in the south stand. So yeah, but no, it'd be good to see you. I'll talk to you about that later. Mel, thank you as always. Like I say, show really wouldn't be possible without your help, so thank you.
It is no problem at all. Thanks for constantly having me back, despite my many technical difficulties I had at the start of this today.
No, you're good. So yeah, obviously we will be back next week. Just keep posted in case there's other content what we're doing. Obviously, we've got loads of other shows on the channel, so please keep watching. All have a good evening and come on, you Gunners.
Case in point, it doesn't want to play the outro video. Like somebody's out to get me today. We're gonna try again.